So our fourth speaker for the day is Kumar Setu. He's a co-founder at PayU. So Kumar is a hardcore entrepreneur and currently co-founder at PayU, one of the fastest growing Indian restaurant brand with 70 plus franchisees expanding rapidly across all Indian tier cities. Before commencing his journey with PayU in 2015, he was the founder and CEO at a global digital marketing and consulting firm in 2006 and graced it till 2014. He brings an abundance of experience in consumer analytics, digital marketing, and business growth precisely. His philosophy of running a business is automate, outsource, or delegate until you're left with things only you can work on. Welcome, Kumar. You can share your peace of mind on triggers and behaviors, the levers of customer retention. Over to you.
Hello, everyone. I think more or less everyone has covered majority of the topics, so I can say all are right and can move on. Isha had told, Saurabh had told, and Abhishek had told already. So the basic pillars of customer retention, like customer experience is one, putting the right triggers, like content is one, the different things you can bring together to bring back customers to your platform, to your service. Now, I'll go to PayU. I'll explain you what PayU is and how we leverage in our case. But I'll try to keep the session more towards developing an understanding of framework. Let's say I have been listening to questions that whether cashback is the right thing to do or not for Paytm, right? This is one question. And there can be different ways to bring back customers. You can give a loyalty points, you can give cashback, you can deliver excellent experience like that is the time to do. So what suits to you? What suits to your business? And how to bring that currency that should be delivered to the customer so that it comes back to you, right? That is one thing. I'll try to focus more on the behavioral psychology part of whole retention thing, and I'll try to give the frameworks which you can build your own currency, build your own ways of bringing the customers back. Before I go into that, I'll brief you regarding PayU. So PayU is an Indian QSR brand. If I ask you, like in India, like where 80% of the times we eat Indian food, which is Indian food brand you recognize, right? There is none. The largest brands in India as of now is Domino's, Pizza Hut, KFC, all international brands, right? But there's none in Indian cuisine space as such. There are smaller brands operating out of small geographies. Like here you have A2B is there in South India, a few in North India, like that, right? But there's no pan-India brand that exists in Indian space. And such a large category, no big player, and that's where we said we'll like to be that player who can represent Indian cuisines at pan-India level and ultimately at a global scale. But the challenge in Indian food business is you go to any international cuisine brand like Domino's, you won't find chefs there, right? It's all assembly line. They assemble pizza, they don't cook pizza. If you go to McDonald's, they assemble burgers, they don't cook burger, right? But if you go to any Indian restaurant, there's a great chef sitting inside the kitchen, and he's the heart and soul of the kitchen, right? If he screws up something in the kitchen, the customer goes for a toss, right? It's very chef dependent, very human dependent model, and that makes it very challenging for an Indian restaurant to scale. And that's in the core reason because of which none of these brands are scaled beyond geographies. So even if you cannot have 1,000 great chefs, right? It's very difficult to build that kind of human resource. And that's why without the companies have failed or they have to small geographies. So even very well funded players like Amy's Biryani, small geographies, Bollywood Boss, small geographies, A2B, small geographies. And the other big challenge in Indian food space is the variety of taste. Like it's a very commodity product, right? So it's a commodity product. How to bring differentiator. And like Isha said that the in-store design has to be changed to reflect the local flavors or local aesthetics, right? And even when they go to Bengal, they create the jewelry which Bengalis will love, right? So how to bring that local flavor in your products at a scale, at a bigger scale, right? I cannot build a vada pav brand and sell it in Calcutta. I can never do that. I can never sell biryani in Delhi. I can never do that, right? So those are the core challenges in the food industry and any commodity industry, right? And the challenge in commodity industry is there's no loyalty as such. I can go to the next one. I can show you what I meant. So customers are no more loyal. In fact, it cuts through all the industries that loyalty is a myth nowadays, right? either they are very transactional in nature, you give a cashback, they'll come back to you. You give a discount, they'll come back to you. But otherwise, it doesn't exist. The other loyalty is about the true loyalty, which every brand tries to build. And that is a loyalty wherein the customer says that I am the brand, right? The brand is my identity, right? And that's when you become a true loyal customer to that brand, which is very, very remote case, very different, very challenging case to achieve, right? So loyalty. So I'll not focus more on the loyalty side because, like, if you look at the cohort and all, right, it starts at 100%. In a month, it will drop to 80%, 40%, drop to 20%, and eventually 2% depending on the business you operate into, right? So if you look at the true loyal customers, only like 2%, 1% of your total customer base. And what you also need to understand is, before you start looking at the retention numbers, define what retention means for you and how do you define the retention customer. Like for our case, in case of PayU, the way we define is if a customer comes today for the first time to PayU, and if he repeats, so what we have seen is 85% of the cases, they come back within 25 days. And this is the behavior we would like to replicate in every customer. So this is my retention metrics, and this metrics can change from one business to another. Like in case of Tanis, they might go for, say, if the customer walks in today, whether he comes back after 6 months or not. In case of no broker, it can be, say, comes back in 15 months or not. So the metrics needs to be very clear that what exactly you are tracking and what is that you want to optimize. So in our case, that's the thing we want to optimize. So in a product like food, commodity product like food, where differentiators are very difficult to build and loyalty is much more difficult to build, how do you still retain the customers and how do you make sure that they keep coming back to you? So there's a saying in our organization, we say that you have to build habits, not loyalty. And what that means is, I'll give some examples to explain what actually meant by that. See, cigarette smokers, right? It's more of habit. They at 2 o'clock every day they'll go out, smoke, and come back. Look at the kids; they go and buy Kinder Joys, right? It's more of there's no loyalty in kids as such, right? But they still go and stick to that. Whenever they go to a shop, they'll ask you to buy the Kinder Joy for me. It's not about loyalty; it's more about building that habit. And that's the kind of habit you have to build. And habit is something wherein your brain stops to work, right? You don't take a conscious decision that okay, this is what I'm going to buy, and these are the things I need to do a checklist of, and then buy the things. But let's say once you have your brain working, then you can never build a habit. So what you should be doing is look at the ways to build habits for your product or for your service instead of building loyalty. And how do you do that? I'll give some examples, small examples, so you can understand this whole framework. Let's say every day in the afternoon, like if someone drinks tea on a very frequent basis, what you do is every day, let's say I'm a very frequent tea drinker and I like morning once, afternoon once, evening once, night once, 4 times every day I'll go and have my tea, right? So 4 o'clock, there's a trigger inside myself, right? It says that go and have tea. I somehow just get up from my chair, go outside, have tea, and then come back. Same thing also for tea, like smokers and all, right? So these are like inbuilt habits, which is not triggered by something external. It's like something internal in nature. And there are 2 kinds of triggers. One is internal triggers, one is external triggers. When you talk about internal triggers, it can be something as simple as just feeling bored, right? So when you feel bored, maybe you like to go outside. You can take a smoke, or you can have a tea. You can chit chat with your friends. So there are different manifestations of that core emotional behavior, and that makes you do things, right? So these are internal behavior, internal trigger, which has led to some action that we have taken, right? So understand there are some internal triggers which is making you do things which you do on a day-to-day basis. Same thing goes to for external triggers as well. Like you go to a service, you go to a pantry, and you saw say a biscuit packet. You open the biscuit and eat. Right? It's not that you're hungry. It's just a location where you act that way, right? So it can be a time. So you get up in the morning, you start brushing your teeth. It's a time-based trigger, right? So time, location, other people, the environment, some various action can lead to triggers. These are external triggers in nature. So what we should look at is how do you build these triggers and leverage these triggers to build habits for your product? That's what, so the triggers are everywhere. We are so used to these triggers that we don't even realize that we are triggered by some internal triggers or external triggers. But how do you leverage these triggers to build a not loyal, but habitual customer for yourself? I think I will go on to all these things. So you can feel lonely, you can feel hungry, the different external triggers. So what you should look at is the first thing to find out these trigger points for your product is look at the customer journey. Say in our case, in case of food or in case of jewelry, in any case, there will be certain journey through the customer goes, right? In our case, let's say, so the customer journey can start with, let's say in our case, there's a heavy rain outside, I reach home late, I don't want to cook, right? And that's where my journey starts, that I want to order food, or I want to go somewhere outside, or maybe my wife is very tired today and she doesn't want to cook, that's when I want to go outside and have food, right? So that's when my customer journey starts. Now, unless we understand the trigger points for these customer journeys, I cannot build my brand inside that. So it's very critical that you map all the customer journeys, all the use cases for which the customer uses your product. So it can be anything, like for our case, it can be rain, it can be heavy traffic, it can be I didn't bring my tiffin today. There can be different trigger points which can lead to the customer journey. So look at the customer journey for your product and figure out what are the possible triggers for your case. And the critical thing here is those triggers leads to some action. Now the guy can come to me, or the guy can walk into some other restaurant, they can open a Swiggy app and order from there. There can be different actions that guy can take based on the trigger that has happened. But the critical thing is how to make sure that that action is towards your product and he uses your product instead of using some other product. That's where the reward comes into the picture. And all these different things that we talked about just now is all rewarding the customer in achieving their customer journey. Like that is customer experience is the reward they offer to the customer. The Paytm cashback is the reward they offer to the customer. So the way it has to be done is your action and reward has to be very close proximity. If I act something now, I should be rewarded immediately. It's like training a dog, right? You show them a bone, they start salivate and they go for it. You can train them based on lots of things. So the idea is you have an action and you have a reward, and this has to be in close proximity. So you ask them to act something and give them a reward immediately. And that's where the reward comes into the picture. Like in case of jewelry, they buy food, they have a huge investment to make. Now, so I'll ask you this question now. So do you think for a brand like Tannis or for a segment like jewelry, would it make sense for them to offer cashback as a reward? How many you think that would make perfect sense to do that? So the moment they buy something, you offer them, say, whatever, X% cashback. How do you think it would make sense? Anyone? And why not?
The ticket size is so high that cashback might not be used. You might want to give the loyalty back in some other way rather than just cashback.
But won't it make the customer happy? No matter what is their amount? So do you think it makes sense?
What's the difference between discount and a cashback?
Sorry?
What's the difference between discount and a cashback?
So discount is you already have to know that okay, so you can use the cashback next time. So you are bringing back the customer again to your platform to use the service. Discount is like from that same transaction you are getting the benefit.
That depends on the product. What you
So I'm saying jewelry product. Jewelry is a product. Why I'm asking the question is to help you understand how do you choose your reward system, whether it's a cashback is the right thing to do or it's a customer experience that is the right thing to do.
depends on the product. That's what I'm saying. There might be many factors, the kind of food you're buying or the kind of area you're in. In this context.
Yeah.
So the frequency in Tanish's case is very low. So even if you give a cashback, doesn't make sense. Whereas in your case, the frequency of ordering is very high. So if you give them cashback, there's a high probability that he'll come back and do that because food needs are regular. Buying Tanish is once a year. And what Saurabh made the point that customer forget a brand after 3 days. Tanish.
Okay. So you are saying this will hold true only for big brands?
No, it's like the frequency is low for that. doesn't make sense.
So let me fine tune that part a bit. So and then we come again to the same question again. So if you look at the person who's buying a jewelry, look at his mindset. Look at the psychology he's going through and why he or she is invested into buying, I say, 20,000 or 1 lakh worth of jewelry, right? Now the person who's investing 1 lakh of rupees into jewelry is definitely not in for the cashback, right? His intents are very different. So unless you understand that part of the bit, that why customer is buying from me, and that why can be different at different part of time for the same brand, right? A person buying jewelry for a wedding, buying jewelry because he has lost his ring, her ring, it's a very different story. And unless you understand that part of the journey, you cannot decide what is the right thing to offer at that point of time. Now, in our case, let's say there's a scenario where let's say I want to make sure that every time it rains, people order from PayU, right? That's the kind of behavior I want to build. It's more of a habit that I want to build, right? So what I'm looking at is we have noticed as a pattern that typically when there's a rain, the food ordering goes up, right? So it's a standard data that is there in the market. Now you want to latch on that and figure out a way that the customer starts acting on your brand, working with your brand, all every time there's a rain outside. So what you do is you should have some triggers in place. So let's say whenever it rains, you reach out to your customers, right? So what you do is every time it rains, you reach out to the customer. In our case, it can be say I can offer you discounts every time for next 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, or 5th time, 6th time, 7th time, and build a habit out of that. So whenever it rains and they're thinking of food, they'll think of PayU in that case. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to build triggers attached to some external trigger. So the rain is not in my control, but sending notification on SMS is my control. I'm trying to club both the things to come to an action which I want from my user to take, right? So in case of tennis, if they start, or in case of say Paytm, PayU, whatever, when a customer is spending something, they have devised a very good currency in terms of cashback because it brings back the customer to the same platform again to leverage the same currency. And it's instant in nature, right? If you say you do a transaction at the POS and you are rewarded, say, 1 day later or 1 month later, it doesn't do the justice because here you are doing the side of Paytm on the POS card, and then immediately you are getting, say, whatever X rupees as a cashback, right? That's an instant reward, and that's a habit they have developed. In case of market like transactions and all, where most like 1 or 2 big players will exist at one point of time, it made a perfect sense for them to start rewarding customers and building those habits early on, even if they are losing money. I know it doesn't make financial sense for them to start giving cashback once you have a huge money you're sitting on, but they did very right. They built that behavior. Now even if they're not offering cashback, they will still use Paytm as a platform. They're still pretty good in that market in terms of competition and all. So that's why it worked for them because they knew that they are spending money on rewarding them, but the reward is immediately linked to their action. So they paid the money, immediately they are rewarded, and that link has been created into the customer's mind, and they keep going back doing the same thing again and again till it becomes habit and it becomes a no-brainer for the customer to keep doing it again and again without even thinking about it, right? And in case of say big ticket items like tennis, jewelry, and all, the customer is not coming with a mindset of getting a cashback, right? He's coming for, let's say, in case of tennis, it will make more sense to see if I'm buying a jewelry to show it off. This is a use case I'm talking about on customer journey where someone wants to show off the jewelry. For them, getting a cashback will not make sense. For them, what will make sense is, let's say, tennis start to say that, hey, if you buy jewelry from us, I have a fan following of say 5 lakh, 10 lakh odd guys. I'll take a selfie and post it immediately on tennis database and you'll get 10,000 likes, right? This is a huge reward for a user. It might not be cashback, but because you understood the customer journey and where they're coming from, you can build a reward mechanism which is instant in nature and which relates to the customer journey, and then start building those habits. So it's very critical that you have a reward mechanism which is aligned to the customer journey. If it's not aligned, you start creating wrong product like loyalty programs, cashback, points, and all. It doesn't fit in all the businesses. It has to be properly aligned with your product. So a good example of habit is when you go to movies, you eat popcorns, right? What is the correlation? Have you ever thought about that? When you go to movies, why do you eat popcorns? Any logic behind that? Or when it's raining, you you feel like eating something fried item or something, right? Any correlation is there. It has been so much ingrained in your minds. It has been so much. We have seen this figure so many times in our life that it becomes a habit, right? We don't even think whenever you go to a movie show, we buy popcorns and go sit there and eat, right? There's no correlation, there's no logic. I'm not hungry, but still those habits keep on resurfacing again and again, right? So those are the things that you have to build. But to look at these external triggers and build your reward mechanism as well. That. So this is my last thing. So the success formula is sandwiching your brand between the triggers and rewards, and you have to understand that your reward need not be directly a function of your brand. The same case of Kinder Joy, they offer the core product is chocolate, right? But the reward is the small toys that the kids get with it, right? There's no relationship between chocolate and a toy. Absolutely no relation. But the guy, the kid goes to a shop and he wants a toy, he wants some fun. And your product, the chocolate is sandwiched between the two things, between the reward and the trigger, save the brand. So you can build this kind of framework that you can have a reward mechanism which matches with the triggers, and between your brand set between the trigger and reward, you can have the higher loyalty or higher retention of the customers. That's it from my side. Anything else? I think that you have clarified. So,
why you thought of like a mixture of offline and online strategy to acquire customers? Like I've seen PayU stores. So right now the brands are going to cloud kitchen formula to save cost and operational efficiency on the offline. So any specific reason behind that when you started up?
Sure. So see, we understood from the very get-go that, okay, so when we launched PayU in 15 January, the concept was to build a delivery-only network like Fresh Menu and Box Sales and all the brands. That's where we started. The two challenges we started facing was, one, the challenge of scale. We realized very early on that if there's a chef sitting in my kitchens and operating out of those kitchens, I can never build a pan-India brand. So currently PayU is present across 9 cities. So we are in Lucknow, Kanpur, Banaras. We are coming up in Bhubaneswar, Calcutta, Gurgaon, Mangalore, definitely Hyderabad, and we are present. So I'm saying we had such spirit like 6 months of time. We started doing these like franchise stores, not owned by us, but we could grow so fast in say last 6 months of time because we realized that the backend has to be scalable, which is chef independent. So that's not the first thing we started doing. We developed processes and cooking methods in which paneer butter masala is not cooked in the kitchen; it's assembled in the kitchens. So they have the gravy, they have the paneer toppings, they have the say cream. They just assemble things and garnish and serve to the customers. So that was one learning for us. That's why we said that make Indian food assembly ready so that I can serve to any remote part of India without having a great chef sitting in those remote parts of India. And if you really had to build a pan-India story, it has to be a non-metro story. I cannot just say, okay, I will build a brand in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Calcutta, and all. It has to be a non-metro story, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 stories. That's when we can compete with the Domino's of India. Like Domino's has 1,000 odd stores in India. We can definitely build 4,000, 5,000 stores brand in India. So that's what the one philosophy. The second thing is, aligned with that, if I go to a place like say Indore, Banaras, Belgaum, it cannot be a dark store model. I cannot just do delivery only. That was the second thing. Third thing, early we learned was when we had just a dark store, so a room from where the delivery was getting done to the customers, the brand retention, the recall was very low because there's no physical space where the customer is exposed to. There is no board they are looking at very frequently, right? In case of physical space, you look at a store, you go to the same road again and again, 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, and then once you walk into the store, to figure out what this brand is all about. That doesn't happen in a dark store model. And what we realized was the kind of savings we were having in terms of one-time setup costs was translating high into the brand building costs. So our marketing costs were going through the roof, my branding costs are going through the roof, and all the advantages those are there because of the offline presence, they're getting lost because of the dark store model. That's why we said early on that, okay, so at one point of time we had around 20 odd dark stores in Bangalore. We launched in January 15. Within 6 months we had 20 odd these dark stores doing delivery only model. And after 3 months we had shut down all of those. We just one dark stores just to prove our case, to figure out the model. And just 2 years after that we didn't do any expansion. We just went to the research mode. We developed these products for which made us scalable ready. And we build the whole backend, the technology framework, everything in place, build the franchising model on top of that, And then only like 6 months back, we started expanding the franchising model, and that's the state we are at. So that the piece of having dark store delivery only is a very, very tricky piece because the branding cost is going very high, and delivery itself like 30% margin goes in delivery only. Where in a dining case, you have higher order value, more people can walk in at the same time, higher order value, better experience, better feeds, lots of advantages. Those are not plugged into your delivery model. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks a lot.